I jolted awake to the sound of pounding on my apartment door. Violent, desperate pounding that echoed through my small living room and straight into my bedroom. My heart hammered as I grabbed my phone from the nightstand. 2:17 a.m. glowed back at me in harsh blue light. The pounding came again, harder this time. "Lexi, Lexi, please!" The voice was muffled through the door but unmistakable. Kat, my twin sister. I threw off my blankets and ran to the door, nearly tripping over the corner of my coffee table in the darkness. My hands fumbled with the chain lock and deadbolt. "Kat, I'm coming. Hold on." The second I pulled the door open, she collapsed into my arms. Rain poured down behind her, turning the hallway lights into hazy halos. She wore only thin pajama pants and an oversized coat that hung open, soaked through. Her feet were bare. Mascara ran in black rivers down her face, mixing with rain and tears. She was shaking so hard I could feel it through both our bodies. "Oh my God, Kat." I pulled her inside and kicked the door shut. "What happened? Are you—" Then she stepped into the light of my apartment and I saw them. The bruises. A dark purple mark bloomed across her left cheekbone. Her bottom lip was split and swollen. But it was her arms that made my stomach drop. When I pulled back her coat sleeves, I found finger-shaped bruises circling both wrists like grotesque bracelets. More bruises tracked up her forearms in varying shades of purple, yellow and green. Some were fresh. Some were days old. "Kat," my voice came out as barely a whisper. "Who did this to you?" She just sobbed harder, her whole body crumpling. I caught her and guided her to my couch, wrapping the throw blanket around her shoulders. She pulled it tight like armor curling into herself. "I can't go back," she whispered. "Lexi, I can't go back. I can't. He's going to kill me. I know he will." "Who?" I demanded, even though somewhere deep down I already knew. "Kat, who did this?" "Brandon." His name came out broken. It was Brandon. I sat back on my heels, the air rushing out of my lungs. Brandon. Her fiancé. The man she was supposed to marry in 3 months. Let me back up. Let me explain how we got here, because 6 months ago this would have been impossible. 6 months ago, my twin sister was the happiest I'd ever seen her. Kat and I have been inseparable since birth, literally. We came into this world together on a Tuesday morning in April, me arriving 8 minutes before her. We're identical twins, same dark hair, same green eyes, same small scar above our left eyebrow from when I crashed my bike at age 7 and she crashed hers trying to help me. Even our parents mixed us up sometimes. Growing up, we did everything together. Same classes, same friends, same weekend sleepovers where we'd stay up late sharing secrets. We went to the same college, got apartments 2 blocks apart after graduation. Tuesday nights were our sacred sister dinner nights. Nothing came between us. Until Brandon. Kat met him at a teachers' conference 8 months ago. She taught 2nd grade at Riverside Elementary, and he was there representing some educational software company. She came home that night practically glowing, telling me about this charming, successful guy who asked for her number. Within weeks, they were dating. Within 3 months, he proposed. I was happy for her. I really was. Brandon seemed perfect on paper. Good job in corporate sales, nice apartment, always brought flowers when he picked Kat up for dates. He was tall and handsome, with the kind of smile that made people trust him immediately. At family dinners, he charmed our parents. He remembered details about people's lives and asked thoughtful questions. But then things started changing. It was subtle at first. Kat cancelled our Tuesday dinners. Brandon planned a surprise date, she'd text. Then it was, "Sorry, Brandon needs me to attend a work function with him." Then just, "Can't make it tonight." When we did see each other, she was different, quieter. She stopped talking about her day at school, stopped sharing funny stories about her students. She checked her phone constantly, her shoulders tensing every time it buzzed. She started wearing long sleeves even when summer hit and the temperature climbed into the 90s. I tried to talk to her about it. "Is everything okay with you and Brandon?" I asked one Tuesday when she actually showed up, 40 minutes late. Everything's perfect, she said, but she wouldn't meet my eyes. Why would you ask that? You just seem different lately. Stressed. Wedding planning is stressful, that's all. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Brandon wants everything to be perfect. That should have been my first warning sign. Brandon wants. Not we want. Not I want. Brandon. 3 weeks ago, I decided to surprise Kat with lunch. I bought sandwiches from her favourite deli and showed up at her apartment. Well, Brandon's apartment that she'd moved into 2 months earlier. I used to have a key, but she'd asked for it back, saying Brandon preferred they keep track of who had access to their place. I knocked on the door at noon, holding the sandwich bag and smiling. Brandon answered. He wasn't smiling. Lexi. He said my name like it tasted bad. Kat didn't mention you were coming. I'm surprising her. I brought lunch. I tried to peer past him into the apartment. Is she here? She's sleeping. Headache. He blocked the doorway with his body, one hand on the frame. I'll tell her you stopped by. Oh, well, maybe I could just leave these sandwiches in the fridge for when she wakes up. I said she's sleeping. His voice went cold. I don't think you should disturb her. Then he shut the door. Actually shut it right in my face. I stood in that hallway for a full minute, staring at the closed door, my heart pounding. Something was wrong. Everything about that interaction was wrong. But what could I do? Kat was an adult. She'd chosen to be with Brandon. Maybe I was just being an overprotective sister. That night, Kat called me. Lexi, I'm so sorry about today. Brandon told me you stopped by. Kat, what's going on? He basically slammed the door in my face. He was just stressed about work. He's been under a lot of pressure lately. Her voice sounded wrong. Too high, too fast. I'm sorry you came all that way. I really did have a bad headache. Are you sure you're okay? You sound... I'm fine, she insisted. Really, Lexi, I'm fine. I should go. Brandon's calling me. Love you. She hung up before I could respond. I should have done something then. I should have pushed harder, demanded answers, shown up at her school to talk to her away from Brandon. But I didn't. I convinced myself I was overreacting, that Kat would come to me if something was really wrong. And now here she was at 2 a.m., covered in bruises, telling me she couldn't go back. How long? I asked, my hands shaking as I got up to grab the first aid kit from my bathroom. Kat, how long has he been hurting you? She wiped at her face with the blanket. It started small. He'd criticize things. My cooking, my clothes, the way I talked to other men even if it was just being polite to a waiter. Then he started getting angry when I spent time with you or Mum. He said you were jealous of our relationship, that you were trying to break us up. My chest tightened. I would never. I know that now, she whispered. But he was so convincing. He made me feel like I was the problem, like if I just tried harder to be what he wanted, everything would be perfect. I knelt in front of her, opening the first aid kit with trembling hands. When did it get physical? 2 months ago. He grabbed my arm during an argument, left bruises. She pushed up her sleeve, showing me the faded yellow marks. I told myself it was an accident, that he didn't mean to grip so hard. Then last week, he pushed me into the wall because I was running late getting ready for his company dinner party. I pressed a cold cloth to her swollen lip, fighting back tears. And tonight, her voice broke. Dinner wasn't ready when he got home from work. I was running behind because one of my students' parents wanted to talk after school, and I lost track of time. When he saw the empty table, he just snapped. He hit me, Lexi, right across the face. Then he grabbed my wrists and shook me, saying I was disrespectful and ungrateful. Tears spilled down her cheeks. He said if I ever tried to leave him, he'd make sure I disappeared, that no one would even know to look for me. And the way he said it, looking right into my eyes. Lexi, I think he meant it. I really think he would. I wrapped my arms around her, holding my sister as she shook. We sat there on my couch in the dark early morning, and I made a silent vow. Brandon Cole was going to pay for what he'd done. You're safe now, I whispered into her hair. He's never going to hurt you again. I promise you, Kat. I'm going to make sure he pays for this. She pulled back, looking at me with red, swollen eyes. You don't understand. He's too powerful. He has lawyers. He has money. Everyone loves him. No one will believe me. I looked at my identical twin, my mirror, my other half, the person I'd shared a womb with and every important moment since. And an idea began forming in my mind. Then we don't just tell people, I said slowly. We make him show them who he really is. What do you mean? I took her bruised hands in mine. Remember when we were kids? How we used to switch places? Understanding dawned in her eyes, followed immediately by fear. Lexi, no. You can't. He's dangerous. Exactly. I held her gaze. He's dangerous to someone who's scared of him, someone who won't fight back. I squeezed her hands. But I'm not you, Kat. And he's about to learn that the hard way. Kat stared at me like I'd lost my mind. Lexi, you can't be serious. You want to switch places with me? To go back to Brandon's apartment and pretend to be me? Not just pretend, I said, standing up to pace my small living room. The adrenaline was pumping through me now, clearing away the shock and horror. I want him to think I'm you. And when he tries to hurt me the way he's been hurting you, he's going to find out what happens when he picks on someone who fights back. He'll know immediately. He'll be able to tell, Kat, we're identical twins. We've fooled everyone our whole lives. Teachers, boyfriends, even mom and dad. I sat back down next to her, taking her hands. Remember sophomore year when you had the flu the day of your history presentation? I walked into your classroom, gave your presentation, and your teacher never knew. That was different. That was a stranger. Not someone who... She paused, her voice dropping to a whisper. Not someone who lives with me. Which is exactly why it'll work, I insisted. He thinks he knows you. He thinks he's broken you down into this scared, submissive person. He's not looking for differences because he doesn't think you have the strength to deceive him. His arrogance is our advantage. Kat pulled the blanket tighter around herself. And what happens when he gets angry? When he tries to hit you? Lexi, he's strong, and when he's in one of his rages... I've been taking self-defense classes for 3 years, I reminded her. Remember, I started after that incident in the parking garage near my office. Tyler convinced me it was important. I touched her bruised cheek gently. I know how to protect myself, and unlike you, I'm expecting him to get violent. I'll be ready. She was quiet for a long moment, staring down at her hands. What's the point, though? Even if you can handle him physically, then what? He'll just say it's your word against his. He'll say you broke into his apartment, that you attacked him. Not if we have proof. I pulled out my phone. I'm going to record everything. Every threat. Every moment of violence. Every word that shows what he really is. And then we're going to make sure the right people see it. Lexi, Kat's voice was thick with tears. I'm scared. What if something goes wrong? What if he hurts you? I wrapped my arms around her again. Then, I'll still be better off than you've been for the past 2 months. At least I'll see it coming. At least I'll fight back. I pulled away to look her in the eyes. Kat, you're my twin. You're my sister. When we were little and that kid Tommy pushed you off the swing, what did I do? A tiny smile flickered across her face despite everything. You shoved him into the mud and sat on him until he apologized. Exactly. And I'm not about to stop protecting you now just because we're adults and Tommy's name is Brandon. I stood up. But we need to do this right. We need a solid plan. And we need help. Help from who? I was already scrolling through my contacts. Tyler. Your friend Tyler, from college. He works in IT security now. If anyone can help us document everything and make sure we have evidence that'll actually hold up, it's him. I hit the call button. Plus, he's always said if I ever needed backup day or night, he'd be there. The phone rang 3 times before a groggy voice answered. Lexi? It's 2:30 in the morning. Someone better be dead or dying? Neither, but it's an emergency. I need you to come to my apartment now. Tyler's voice instantly sharpened, sleep vanishing. Are you okay? Are you hurt? I'm fine. It's Kat, just... Please come, I'll explain everything when you get here. I'm grabbing my keys, be there in 15. He hung up and I turned back to Kat. Okay, while we wait for Tyler, I need you to tell me everything. His schedule, his routines, his habits, the things that make him angry, the things that calm him down. How you talk to him, how you move around him. Everything. Kat took a shaky breath and began. Over the next 15 minutes, she painted a picture of life with Brandon that made my blood boil. He came home every day at exactly 6:30. He expected dinner on the table within 10 minutes. If it wasn't ready, or if something wasn't cooked to his exact preference, he'd start with criticism that would escalate into anger. He hates it when I speak too loudly, she explained. He says I get shrill, so I learned to keep my voice soft, almost a whisper sometimes, and I can't look him in the eye when he's angry because he says it's disrespectful. He's conditioned you like a dog, I said, fury making my voice shake. He controls everything, Kat continued. What I wear, who I talk to, where I go. He checks my phone every night. He made me quit the book club I was in because there was a male member. He didn't like my friend Jennifer because he said she dressed inappropriately, so I had to stop seeing her. What about your job? Your students. That's the only thing he hasn't taken away, but only because he likes telling people his fiancé is a teacher. It makes him look good. She wiped at fresh tears. But he picks me up from school every day now. He says it's to save me the drive, but really it's so he knows exactly when I'm done and where I'm going. A knock at the door interrupted us. I looked through the peephole to see Tyler standing in the hallway, his hair sticking up, wearing sweatpants and a t-shirt inside out. He must have literally rolled out of bed and driven straight here. I opened the door and he rushed in, his eyes immediately finding Kat on the couch. He froze when he saw her face. Jesus Christ. He crossed to her in 3 long steps, kneeling down to get a better look. Kat, who did this to you? Her fiancé, I said, closing and locking the door behind him. Brandon. Tyler's jaw clenched so hard I could see the muscle jump. Where is he? I'll kill him. That's not the plan, I said quickly. But I need your help with what the plan actually is. Over the next 20 minutes, I explained everything to Tyler. Kat's abuse, my idea to switch places, the need for documentation. Tyler listened, his expression growing darker with every detail. When I finished, he was quiet for a moment. Then he shook his head. Absolutely not. This is insane, Lexi. You can't just walk into an abusive situation on purpose. I'm not asking for permission. You could get seriously hurt. He stood up, running his hands through his hair. This guy has been systematically abusing Kat for months. You think he's just going to let you waltz in there, record him, and waltz back out? What happens when he figures out you're not really Kat? He won't figure it out if we do this right, I argued. And if you're wrong? If something goes bad and you're trapped in that apartment with a violent man? Tyler's voice rose. Then what, Lexi? Then I need someone who knows where I am, I said quietly. Someone who's ready to call the police if I don't check in. Someone who can help make sure the evidence gets to the right people no matter what happens. I met his eyes. I need you, Tyler. I'm doing this whether you help me or not. But I'd feel a lot safer knowing you had my back. Tyler looked between me and Kat, his jaw working. Finally, he sighed. You're both insane, you know that? Is that a yes? That's a I can't believe I'm agreeing to this, but yes. He pulled out his phone. Okay. If we're doing this, we're doing it right. First thing, we need a proper recording device, not just your phone. Something small enough that he won't spot it, but good enough quality that everything will be clear. Can you get something like that? I have access to surveillance equipment through work, small, discreet recording devices that look like normal jewellery. He was already typing notes. A necklace would work. Kat, do you have any necklaces you wear regularly that Brandon's used to seeing? Kat nodded slowly, pulling a thin silver chain from under her shirt. A small pendant hung from it. This one. My grandmother gave it to me. I never take it off. Perfect. I can replace the pendant with one that has a camera and microphone inside. Brandon will see the necklace he's used to seeing. But we'll be recording everything, Tyler kept typing. We'll also need a safety protocol. Check-in times, code words if you need immediate help. And I'll be nearby, parked somewhere close enough that I can get to you in under 2 minutes if needed. You'd do that? Kat asked softly. Tyler's expression softened. Kat, you and Lexi are family to me. There's nothing I wouldn't do to keep you both safe. He turned back to me. But I need you to promise me something. If things go sideways, if you feel like you're in real danger, you get out. Immediately. No heroics, no trying to get more evidence. You get out and we call the police. Deal? I nodded. Deal. Okay then. Tyler checked his watch. It's almost 3 a.m. now. I can have the recording necklace ready by tomorrow afternoon. That gives us about 36 hours to prepare. He looked at Kat. Which means we need to turn Lexi into you. Kat took a deep breath, squeezing the blanket. Where do we start? Everything, I said, sitting down next to her. Voice, posture, mannerisms. The way you arrange his things, the way you respond to his moods. Every single detail that makes you, you. And so we began. As dawn light started creeping through my apartment windows, Kat taught me how to be her. She showed me how she kept her voice soft and gentle, how she tucked her hair behind her ear when nervous, how she walked with smaller steps and kept her shoulders slightly hunched, making herself smaller. When he's angry, I keep my eyes down, she demonstrated. Direct eye contact sets him off. And I apologize a lot. For everything. Even things that aren't my fault. I practiced her speech patterns, the way she said, I'm sorry with that specific inflection, the way she'd nervously twist her engagement ring when stressed. Tyler recorded me, and we watched it back, comparing my movements to Kat's until I could mimic her perfectly. We worked through the morning and into the afternoon. Tyler left to get the recording equipment and came back with a necklace identical to Kat's, but with a tiny camera embedded in the pendant. He showed us how to activate it, how to make sure it was recording. The battery will last about 8 hours, he explained. More than enough time. Everything will upload to a secure cloud server in real time, so even if something happens to the necklace, we'll have the footage. By early evening, I could move like Kat, talk like Kat, even think like Kat. I understood the rules of Brandon's apartment, shoes by the door, coat on the specific hook, dinner ready at exactly 6:40. I knew which topics were safe and which would set him off. I knew how to fade into the background, how to make myself invisible when he wanted silence. It felt like putting on a costume made of fear, and I hated that my sister had been living in it for months. Tomorrow night, I said as darkness fell outside. I'll go to the apartment tomorrow evening. That gives me one more day to practice, and it's a weekday, so Brandon's schedule will be predictable. Kat looked terrified but determined. You'll stay here with me until then. I'm not leaving you alone, I promised. Tyler stood up, gathering his things. I'll be back tomorrow afternoon with final preparations. Try to get some sleep. Both of you. He paused at the door, looking at me seriously. Last chance to back out, Lexi. I glanced at Kat, curled up on my couch with bruises covering her arms, and felt that same protective fury I'd had since we were kids. No backing out, I said firmly. Brandon's going to learn what it means to mess with my sister. After Tyler left, Kat and I lay in my bed like we used to during thunderstorms when we were little, facing each other in the dark. Be careful, she whispered. When he gets really angry, his eyes go completely cold. That's when he's most dangerous. That's when he stops being the charming Brandon everyone else sees and becomes something else. I'll be ready, I promised. But as I lay there in the darkness, listening to my sister's breathing slowly even out as she finally fell asleep, I couldn't shake the image she'd planted in my mind. Cold eyes. A man who could transform from charming to dangerous in seconds. Tomorrow night, I would walk into Brandon's apartment wearing my sister's face. Tomorrow night, I would give him every opportunity to show me exactly who he really was. And when he did, I would make sure the whole world saw it too. I stood outside Brandon's apartment building at exactly 5:45 p.m., Kat's key cold in my hand. My heart pounded so hard I could feel it in my throat, but I forced my breathing to stay calm, and even like Tyler had taught me. The recording necklace sat against my collarbone, the tiny camera lens hidden in the silver pendant. Tyler had tested it 3 times before I left. Everything I saw and heard would be recorded and uploaded in real time to his secure server. He was parked 2 blocks away watching the feed on his laptop, ready to call the police at my signal. I wore Kat's clothes. Soft grey cardigan, modest jeans, the flats she always wore because Brandon said heels made her too tall. Her engagement ring felt heavy on my finger. I'd practiced her posture so many times that my shoulders automatically curved inward, making myself smaller. "You can do this," I whispered to myself in Kat's gentle voice. Then I slipped the key into the lock and entered apartment 4B. The apartment was exactly as Kat had described. Sleek, modern, expensive. Everything in its precise place. Grey leather couch positioned perfectly perpendicular to the flat-screen TV. Glass coffee table with nothing on it except a remote control aligned with the table's edge. Even the throw pillows were arranged with military precision. I moved through the space like Kat had taught me. Coat on the 3rd hook from the left. Shoes side by side beneath it, toes pointing toward the wall. Purse on the small table in the entryway, not on the counter where I'd naturally put it. The kitchen was spotless. Of course it was. Kat had to clean it to his standards every single day. I opened the refrigerator and found the ingredients she'd told me would be there. Chicken breasts, vegetables, rice. Brandon's favourite meal, the one I'd practiced making yesterday until I could do it in my sleep. I set to work, my hands moving automatically while my mind raced. This was really happening. In 45 minutes, Brandon would walk through that door. He would look at me and see Kat. And then I would wait for him to show me exactly who he was. The chicken went into the pan, the rice into the cooker. I chopped vegetables with steady hands, arranging them on the cutting board the way Kat said he preferred. Organised by colour, no pieces touching. Every detail mattered. Every tiny element had to be perfect, or he'd know something was wrong. At 6:15, I set the table. Dinner plate on the left side, his side. Fork and knife positioned exactly 1 inch from the plate's edge. Water glass at 2 o'clock. Everything precise, everything controlled, everything the way Brandon demanded. My phone buzzed in my pocket. A text from Tyler. "Recording perfectly. You okay?" I typed back quickly. "So far. He'll be here in 15. Remember the signal. Anything feels wrong. Just say, 'I need air,' and I'm coming in." I pocketed the phone and checked my reflection in the microwave's surface. I looked exactly like Kat. Same hairstyle pulled back in a low ponytail. Same minimal makeup. Same defeated slope to my shoulders. But my eyes were different. I could see it even in the distorted reflection. Kat's eyes held fear and exhaustion. Mine held cold, calculated fury. I closed them, took a breath, and when I opened them again, I'd softened them. Made them gentle and anxious and apologetic. At 6:28, I heard footsteps in the hallway, 2 minutes early. My pulse spiked, but I kept my face calm. The key turned in the lock. Brandon walked in. He was exactly as I remembered from family dinners months ago. Tall, fit, wearing an expensive suit that probably cost more than my rent. His dark hair was styled perfectly. His smile was warm and bright as he saw me. "Hey, sweetheart," he said, his voice affectionate. He crossed to me and kissed my cheek, and it took every ounce of self-control not to flinch away. "Something smells good." "Chicken and vegetables," I said in Kat's soft voice. "Your favourite." "You're the best." He loosened his tie, heading toward the bedroom. "I'll just change and be right out." I watched him go, my skin crawling from where his lips had touched my face. This was the man who'd put those bruises on my sister. This charming, smiling man who looked like he'd never hurt anyone in his life. 5 minutes later, he emerged in casual clothes and sat at the table. I served him the way Kat had instructed. Plate from the left, careful not to reach across him, portions exactly as he preferred. Then I sat across from him with my own smaller portion. "How was work?" I asked, the question Kat said she asked every night. "Exhausting. Jenkins is still being difficult about the Henderson account." Brandon cut into his chicken, took a bite, and his expression flickered. Just for a second, something cold passed across his face before the smile returned. "This is a bit dry, isn't it?" My stomach tightened. The chicken was perfect. I'd used a thermometer to make sure, but this was a test. This was him establishing control, finding something to criticize because he always found something. "I'm sorry," I said immediately, keeping my voice small. "I can make something else if you'd like." He waved a hand dismissively. No, it's edible, I suppose." He took another bite, his jaw tight. "You just need to be more careful with the cooking time. How many times have I shown you?" "I know. I'm sorry." I twisted Kat's ring on my finger, the nervous gesture she did constantly. "I'll do better next time." "I'm sure you will." His tone was patronizing, like speaking to a child. "You're trying, at least. That's what matters." We ate in silence for a few minutes. I kept my eyes down, monitoring him through my peripheral vision. He ate mechanically, his initial good mood fading with each bite. Something was bothering him beyond the imaginary dryness of the chicken. "We need to talk about the wedding," he said suddenly, pushing his half-finished plate away. "I've made some final decisions." He pulled a leather folder from the counter behind him. He must have put it there when he came in. Inside were printed pages, color-coded tabs marking different sections. He opened it with the air of someone presenting a business proposal. "I've selected the final venue, the Sterling Hotel downtown. Their grand ballroom holds 300, which is perfect for my guest list." He slid a photo across to me. "I've also chosen your dress." I looked down at the image. The dress was beautiful. Layers of white silk and lace, elegant and classic. It was also nothing like what Kat would choose. She'd told me she wanted something simpler, more romantic. This dress was formal, almost cold in its perfection. "It's lovely," I made myself say. But something in me couldn't help adding, though I was hoping we could maybe look at a few options together. His hand stopped mid-turn of the page. The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. "Together?" His voice was quiet. Too quiet. "You want to look at options together?" This was it. The moment Kat had warned me about. When he started getting that edge in his voice, when his reasonable mask began to slip, I should have backed down immediately, should have apologized and smoothed it over the way Kat would have. But I needed to push him. I needed him to show his true self on camera. So I took a breath and said softly, "I just thought, since it's my wedding dress, maybe I could have some input." "Your wedding dress." Brandon stood abruptly, his chair scraping against the floor. He towered over me, and I saw exactly what Kat meant about his eyes. The warmth had vanished completely, replaced by something cold and calculating and cruel. "Your wedding dress for our wedding that I'm paying for. The wedding where you'll be marrying me, standing next to me, representing me in front of everyone I know." "I didn't mean," I started, but he cut me off. "After everything I do for you, after I forgave you for embarrassing me in front of my colleagues last week with your little episode." He moved closer, his voice dropping to that dangerous quiet. "After I've been patient with your constant mistakes and your inability to do even simple things right. And now you want to question my judgment?" I stood up slowly, keeping Kat's submissive posture but feeling my own strength coiled beneath it. "I'm sorry. I wasn't questioning you. Just what?" He stepped around the table toward me. "You just thought you knew better than me? Thought your opinion mattered more than mine?" My heart raced, but not with fear, with anticipation. He was showing me exactly who he was. The camera was recording every word, every movement. I just needed him to take it one step further. "Brandon, please," I said, adding a tremor to Kat's voice. I'm sorry, you're right. The dress is perfect. Everything you choose is perfect. Don't patronize me. His hand shot out and grabbed my wrist, exactly where the worst bruises on Kat's arms had been. His fingers dug in hard and I felt the pressure that had left those marks on my sister's skin. I've had a long day dealing with incompetent people and I come home to this. To you questioning every decision I make? The pain in my wrist was sharp and real, but I welcomed it. This was what I needed. This was Brandon revealing himself. You're hurting me, I said quietly, not pulling away yet, letting the camera catch everything. I'm hurting you? His grip tightened. You have no idea what hurt is. After I've given you everything, this apartment, security, a future, and you can't even show basic gratitude and respect. He was close now, his face inches from mine, his breath hot and angry. This was the moment. This was when Kat would have crumpled, would have apologized and begged and made herself even smaller until his rage passed. But I wasn't Kat. I looked up slowly, meeting his cold eyes with my own, and I let my voice change, just slightly, just enough. The softness drained away, replaced with steel. Let go of me. Brandon froze. His eyes widened as confusion flickered across his face. Something was wrong. The woman in front of him sounded different, stood different, looked at him with eyes that held no fear. What did you say? He asked slowly. I pulled my wrist free with a sharp twist, the self-defense move Tyler had taught me. Brandon stumbled back slightly, shock registering on his features. I said let go of me, I repeated, and this time I used my own voice, clear, strong, furious. And here's what's going to happen now, Brandon. You're going to sit down, and you're going to listen very carefully. Understanding dawned in his eyes, followed immediately by rage. You're not Kat. No, I said, standing tall, letting my shoulders straighten to their full height. I'm not. I'm Lexi, and you just made a very, very big mistake. Brandon's face went through a series of expressions in rapid succession. Shock, confusion, and then pure incandescent rage. Lexi, he said, my name dripping with venom. What the hell do you think you're doing? Protecting my sister, I said, keeping the dining table between us. Something I should have done a long time ago. He lunged around the table toward me, but I was already moving, putting more distance between us. You broke into my home. You're pretending to be Kat. Do you have any idea how illegal that is? I didn't break in. I used Kat's key. I kept my voice steady, even though adrenaline was screaming through my veins. The same key to the apartment she pays half the rent on, even though you convinced her to give it up. Get out! Brandon pointed toward the door, his hand shaking with fury. Get out right now before I call the police and have you arrested for trespassing. Go ahead and call them, I said. I'd love to explain to the police why I'm here. I could show them pictures of what you did to Kat. The bruises around her wrists. I held up my own wrist where red marks were already forming from his grip. The same way you just grabbed me. He froze, his eyes darting to my wrist. I watched him calculate, watched the rage war with self-preservation. I don't know what lies Kat's been telling you. They're not lies, and we both know it. I stood my ground, hands loose at my sides, ready to move if he came at me again. You've been abusing her for months, controlling her, isolating her, hurting her. That's ridiculous. Brandon's voice shifted, becoming smooth and reasonable. He was trying to regain control of the situation. Kat and I have a normal relationship. If she has some bruises, they're from accidents. She's always been clumsy. She's a second-grade teacher who spends her days with 20 children and never gets hurt. Try again. His jaw clenched. You don't know anything about our relationship. You're jealous because your sister found someone and you're still alone. You've been trying to break us up since day one. Is that what you told her? Anger flared hot in my chest. That I was jealous? That I was the problem? Because you are. Brandon took a step toward me, his voice turning cold. You couldn't stand that Kat didn't need you anymore, that she had me. So now you're making up stories trying to manipulate her. I didn't make up the bruises on her arms. I didn't make up her split lip or the terror in her eyes when she showed up at my apartment at 2 a.m. I held his gaze. I didn't make up what you just did to me either. I barely touched you. You grabbed me hard enough to leave marks. You did it because I dared to have an opinion about a wedding dress. Imagine what you do when you're really angry. Brandon's expression shifted again, the reasonable mask cracking. You have no idea what it's like dealing with her. She's weak, she's indecisive, she needs someone to make decisions for her. I've given her everything and she can't even cook a simple meal without ruining it. There was nothing wrong with the chicken. That's not the point. His voice rose sharply. The point is respect. The point is gratitude. I have a stressful job. I work 60 hours a week to provide for us, and I come home to incompetence and disrespect. You come home to someone who's terrified of you, I shot back. Someone who walks on eggshells trying not to set you off. Someone who's lost herself completely trying to be whatever you want her to be. She should be grateful. For what? For being isolated from her family? For being criticized constantly? For being hit? My voice rose to match his. What exactly should she be grateful for, Brandon? His hand moved fast, reaching for my shoulder to shove me the way he'd shoved Kat into the wall, but I was ready. I'd been waiting for it. My hand came up and blocked his arm, and before he could react, I grabbed his wrist and twisted it down and away. The same move that had worked earlier, but with more force this time. Brandon yelped in surprise and pain, stumbling forward off balance. You bitch! Don't touch me, I said firmly, releasing him and stepping back into a ready stance. I'm not Kat. I will defend myself. He stared at me, cradling his wrist, shock and humiliation written across his face. You assaulted me. You attacked me in my own home. I defended myself from your attack. There's a difference. I kept my breathing steady, my body ready. And it's all on camera, by the way. His face went pale. What? I touched the necklace at my throat. This pendant, it's a camera. It's been recording everything since I walked in the door. Every word you've said. Every time you've grabbed me. Your confession about how you treat Kat. I smiled without humor. It's all documented, Brandon. That's illegal. You can't record someone without their consent. Actually, in this state, only one party needs to consent to recording. And I consent. I pulled out my phone with one hand, keeping my eyes on him. But that's not even the best part. Want to know what else we found? Brandon's eyes widened. We? You remember Tyler? My friend from college? I watched the recognition flicker across his face. He's really good with technology, security systems, locked phones, that kind of thing. I opened my photos and turned the screen toward him. Like your hidden phone, the one you keep in the back of your closet, the one Kat told me about. The colour drained completely from Brandon's face as he saw the screenshot on my screen. Messages from his hidden phone, searches about control tactics, photos he'd taken of Kat's injuries like trophies. We found everything, I continued quietly. Messages to your ex-girlfriend showing this isn't the first time you've been abusive. Deleted texts you sent to Kat that you thought were gone forever. Internet searches about how to isolate someone, how to make them dependent on you. You had no right, his voice cracked. I had every right to protect my sister. I put my phone away. Tyler already sent copies to the police an hour ago. Detective Morrison is very interested in talking to you. Brandon's face twisted with rage and panic. He moved toward me again, hands reaching, and this time there was real violence in his eyes. You're going to destroy everything I've built, my career, my reputation. I caught his arm and used his own momentum against him, spinning him around. My other arm came up across his chest, and I pushed him face first against the wall. Not hard enough to hurt, but firm enough to hold him there. It was a restraint technique from my self-defense class, designed to immobilize without injury. Your career? I said into his ear. Keeping him pinned? Your reputation? That's what you're worried about? I held him there for just a moment, long enough for him to feel what Kat had felt, powerless and controlled by someone stronger. Then I released him and stepped quickly back. Brandon slumped against the wall, his perfect composure completely shattered. His expensive shirt was wrinkled, his hair messed up. He looked small suddenly, pathetic. "This is what's going to happen," I said, my voice steady and cold. "Kat is never coming back to you. If you try to contact her, if you come anywhere near her, everyone in your life will know exactly what you are. Your company, your family, your friends, they'll all see the evidence. I'll sue you. I'll press charges. Go ahead. You'll be answering your own charges of assault, domestic violence and stalking. We have evidence. We have witnesses. We have your ex-girlfriend ready to testify. What do you have?" Before he could answer, there was a sharp knock at the door. "Police. Open up." Brandon's eyes went wide with panic. He looked at me, then at the door, then back at me. "You called them. I told you. Tyler sent everything an hour ago." I walked to the door, keeping Brandon in my peripheral vision. "They've been waiting for probable cause. You grabbing me on camera was all they needed." I opened the door to reveal 2 uniformed officers. "Officers, thank you for coming. I'm Lexi Morgan. This is Brandon Cole." I gestured to where he stood against the wall, disheveled and defeated. "He just assaulted me. It's all recorded. And I believe you have some questions for him about assaulting my sister. Catherine Morgan as well." The officers entered, their expressions professionally neutral but alert. One of them looked at my wrist where Brandon's fingerprints were already darkening into bruises. "Miss, are you injured?" "Just my wrist. But my sister has much worse. She filed a report earlier today." Brandon tried to pull himself together, forcing his shoulders back, attempting to resurrect his charming persona. "Officers, this is all a misunderstanding. This woman broke into my apartment." "Mr. Cole," the other officer interrupted, "we need you to come to the station to answer some questions about allegations of domestic violence." "This is insane. I'm calling my lawyer." "That's your right, sir, but you still need to come with us." I watched as they escorted Brandon toward the door. He shot me one final look, pure hatred mixed with disbelief that his carefully constructed world was crumbling around him. "You're going to regret this," he hissed as they led him past me. "No," I said quietly. "You're going to regret ever laying a hand on my sister." The door closed behind them, and suddenly I was alone in Brandon's perfect, controlled apartment. My hands started shaking as the adrenaline drained away. I pulled out my phone and called Tyler. "It's done," I said when he answered. "The police just took him. I saw everything on the feed. Jesus, Lexi, when he grabbed you." "I'm okay. It worked. We got everything." I looked around the apartment one last time. "I'm coming out now. Is Kat with you?" "She's right here. She's been watching the whole thing. She's crying, but she's okay." "Tell her it's over," I said, heading toward the door. "Tell her she's free." 2 weeks later, I sat in my apartment with morning sunlight streaming through the windows. Kat was curled up in the armchair across from me, wearing comfortable sweats and holding a mug of coffee. The bruises on her face had faded to yellow-green shadows. The ones on her arms were almost gone. But more importantly, the fear in her eyes was fading too. "The restraining order came through yesterday," she said, setting down her mug. "The judge granted it immediately once he saw all the evidence." "Good." I pulled my own legs up onto the couch. "How are you feeling about it?" Kat was quiet for a moment, staring into her coffee. Relieved, scared, guilty. She looked up at me. "Is it stupid that I feel guilty?" "No," I said gently. "It's not stupid. It's normal. He spent months making you feel responsible for his behavior." "I know that logically. My therapist keeps telling me the same thing." Kat wrapped her hands tighter around her mug, but part of me still wonders if I'd just been better at... "Stop." I leaned forward. "Kat, there was nothing you could have done differently. He's an abuser. That's who he is. You could have been perfect in every way, and he still would have found reasons to hurt you. That's what abusers do. She nodded slowly, tears gathering in her eyes. I know. I'm working on believing it. She wiped at her face. The therapist says it'll take time, that I need to be patient with myself. She's right. I got up and moved to sit on the arm of her chair, putting my arm around her shoulders. You survived, Kat. You got out. That takes incredible strength. I didn't get out, she said quietly. You got me out. If you hadn't switched places with me, if you hadn't been brave enough to confront him, you were brave enough to run to me in the middle of the night. You were brave enough to tell me the truth. You were brave enough to let me help. I squeezed her shoulder. We're a team, remember? That's what twins do. The apartment door opened and Tyler walked in carrying grocery bags. He'd practically moved in over the past 2 weeks, sleeping on my couch, making sure both Kat and I had everything we needed. I got all the supplies for breakfast, he announced, heading to the kitchen. And I have some news. Good news or bad news? I asked, following him. Good news. Great news, actually. Tyler started unpacking eggs and bread. I just got off the phone with Detective Morrison. Brandon's ex-girlfriend gave her full statement yesterday. Turns out there were 2 other women before her who are also willing to come forward now. Kat appeared in the kitchen doorway. 2 others? 2 others, Tyler confirmed. 1 from college, 1 from his first job. Same pattern with both of them. Started with control and criticism, escalated to violence. Both were too scared to report it at the time because Brandon threatened their careers. But they're coming forward now? I asked. They are. With 4 victims testifying and all the evidence we gathered, the prosecutor is confident about the case. Brandon's lawyer is already talking about a plea deal. Kat leaned against the doorframe, processing this. 4 women. He did this to 4 women. That they know of, Tyler said gently. There might be others who aren't ready to come forward yet. And I almost married him. Kat's voice was barely a whisper. I almost tied myself to him legally forever. I crossed to her and took her hands. But you didn't. You got away before that happened. Because you saved me. We saved each other, I interrupted. You had the courage to leave. I had the chance to help. Neither of us could have done it alone. I looked into her eyes. My own eyes reflected back at me. That's the power of being twins, Kat. When one of us is weak, the other is strong. When one of us falls, the other catches her. Tyler cleared his throat. There's more news. Brandon's company suspended him pending the investigation. Several colleagues have come forward saying they witnessed him being verbally abusive to staff members. His perfect reputation is completely destroyed. Good, Kat said, and there was steel in her voice I hadn't heard in months. He deserves to face consequences for what he's done. Over breakfast, we talked about the future. Kat had been staying with me since that night, sleeping in my bed while I took the couch despite her protests. But she was starting to talk about next steps. I think I want to get my own place, she said, pushing scrambled eggs around her plate. Not immediately. I'm not ready yet. But eventually. Something small, something that's just mine. That sounds healthy, I said. Independence on your own terms. My principal called yesterday, she continued. She wanted to check on me. I told her a simplified version of what happened, and she was incredibly supportive. She said I could take as much time as I need, but my classroom is waiting for me whenever I'm ready. Are you ready? Tyler asked. Kat considered this. I think so. The kids don't know anything about my personal life. Being with them, teaching them, watching them learn, that's always been pure for me. Brandon never touched that part of my life. I think going back might actually help. Then you should do it, I encouraged. But if you need to leave early or take a day off, don't push yourself. I won't. I promise. Kat took a bite of eggs, then looked at both of us. I've been thinking about something else too, about other women who might be going through what I went through. What do you mean? I asked. I want to volunteer. At a domestic violence shelter or a crisis hotline, I'm not ready yet. My therapist thinks I need more time to heal first, but eventually I want to use what happened to me to help other women. So they know they're not alone, so they know it's possible to get out. Tyler smiled. That's really admirable, Kat. It's not admirable, it's necessary. She set down her fork. I felt so isolated, so trapped. I thought I was the only person in the world going through this. If I can help even one woman realize she's not alone, that there are people who will believe her and help her, then maybe something good can come from all this. I reached across the table and squeezed her hand. You're amazing, you know that? I'm a work in progress, she said with a small smile. But I'm working on it. After breakfast, Tyler left to run some errands. Kat and I cleaned up the kitchen together, falling into an easy rhythm we'd had since childhood. As I washed dishes and she dried, I felt something settle in my chest, a sense of rightness, of things beginning to heal. Lexi, Kat's voice was quiet. Can I ask you something? Anything. Weren't you scared when you went to his apartment when you confronted him? He could have really hurt you. I thought about this as I scrubbed a plate. I was scared, I admitted, but I was more angry than scared. And I knew what I was walking into. I was prepared for him. I handed her the clean plate. You weren't prepared. You thought you were marrying someone who loved you. And he used that trust to hurt you. That's the difference. I should have seen the signs earlier. He's a master manipulator, Kat. That's what abusers are. They don't start with violence. They start with charm and love and making you feel special. By the time the abuse starts, they've already isolated you and convinced you that you're the problem. I turned to face her. None of this was your fault. Not one single bit of it. She set down the dish towel and hugged me tightly. Thank you, she whispered, for believing me, for fighting for me, for being my sister. I hugged her back, feeling the familiar comfort of holding my twin, my other half. Always, I said. That's what sisters do. That afternoon, we sat together on my couch looking through apartment listings on Kat's laptop. She pointed out places she liked, small studios with good natural light, buildings with security systems, neighborhoods near parks where she could walk safely. What about this one? She asked, turning the screen toward me. 1 bedroom, hardwood floors, close to my school. I looked at the listing and smiled. It's perfect. You should schedule a viewing. You'll come with me? Of course. My phone buzzed with a text from Detective Morrison. Final update, Brandon accepted plea deal. 18 months jail time, 5 years probation, mandatory anger management and therapy. He'll have to register as a domestic violence offender. Wanted you both to know. I showed the text to Kat. She read it twice, her expression unreadable. 18 months, she said finally. It doesn't seem like enough. It's not, I agreed. But it's justice. And more importantly, he can't hurt you anymore. He can't hurt anyone for at least 18 months. And after that, everyone will know what he is. Kat nodded slowly. You're right. It's over. It's really over. It's over, I confirmed. And now you get to decide what comes next. Not him. You. She looked down at the apartment listing still open on her laptop, then at the bracelet I'd given her, the simple silver band engraved with "Stronger Together." She touched it gently, a small smile crossing her face. I think, she said slowly, I'm going to schedule that apartment viewing for tomorrow. And then I'm going to call my principal and tell her I want to return to work next week. And then... She looked at me. Then maybe you and I can reinstate our Tuesday sister dinners. The real ones, where we laugh and talk about nothing and everything and just be us. I would love that, I said, feeling warmth spread through my chest. Tyler returned later that evening with pizza and movies. The three of us sprawled across my living room like old times, laughing at a ridiculous comedy, arguing about whether the plot made any sense, just being normal. At one point, I glanced over at Kat. She was laughing at something Tyler said, her head thrown back, completely unguarded. It was the first time in months I'd seen her laugh like that, free and genuine and unafraid. Our eyes met and she smiled at me. A real smile, not the scared, apologetic smile she'd worn around Brandon, not the broken smile from that night she showed up at my door. This was Kat's real smile, the one I'd grown up with, the one I'd thought was lost forever. She mouthed 2 words. "Thank you." I mouthed back, "Always." Because that's what it meant to be twins. We shared everything, the same birthday, the same face, the same DNA. We shared childhood memories and inside jokes and a bond that went deeper than words. And when one of us was in danger, the other would do anything, even walk into the lion's den wearing her sister's face out to protect her. Brandon had tried to break that bond. He'd tried to isolate Kat, to make her feel alone and powerless. But he'd underestimated what he was dealing with. He'd hurt one twin, not realizing he'd have to answer to both. And now he was facing the consequences while Kat was free, healing, and rebuilding her life on her own terms. The bruises would fade. The fear would lessen with time and therapy. The scars, both visible and invisible, would become part of her story, proof of what she'd survived. But she had survived. We both had. And we'd face whatever came next the same way we'd faced everything else in our lives. Together, stronger together, the way identical twins were always meant to be.